Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome again to What Matters Gulf Coast. I'm your host, Violetta Simpson, and tonight we have an important topic to discuss with our esteemed guests, Mrs. Beverly Cooper and Mr. Rob Green. The issue of annexation in South Alabama has raised questions about community involvement, economic implications, and the representation of minority communities. Beverly Cooper, who is the executive director of Stand Up Mobile, and Rob Green, who is the director of South Alabama's Economic Roundtable, bring their expertise to shed light on this pressing issue. Beverly is a community advocate and has been closely following the redistricting process, particularly the impact on Black voting power in Mobile. Rob is an expert in economic development and will share insights on the fiscal health of the region amidst the annexation process. Together, we will explore the complexities of this issue and delve into the reasons behind the proposed annexation, the concerns of existing communities, and the potential implications for the future growth and prosperity of the region. So, let's join us for this crucial conversation. Without further ado, let's welcome our guests, Beverly Cooper and Rob Green, to What Matters Gulf Coast.
Well, Violetta, thank you so much for the opportunity to be a part of your show today. I think your interest and comments regarding what we think Stand Up Mobile believes about annexation, I think it's important for your audience to hear. So I'm really glad to be here.
Yes, I would like to also thank Violetta for inviting me to come and express my views and feelings about annexation on behalf of the South Alabama Economic Roundtable. As you can figure out, there are many different parties expressing different opinions, and we have rather strong ones. And again, thank you for inviting us.
Yeah. I think probably the place that I'd want to start relates to the fact that the absence of the community's voice in the discussion about annexation. We're hearing that residents in our community are very concerned about what these current proposals might mean to them. And there are quite a few questions that have not been answered. One of the biggest ones that's on the table and I'm constantly approached about is what does it do to the Black voting power in Mobile? These are individuals who follow the redistricting process very closely. They know that it was a major announcement that we will now have an opportunity to have a Black city where there could be 4 Black voting districts as a result of the census. And now we're into this process of annexation, which really is putting some questions on the numbers that are being quoted as coming into the city through annexation. What does that do? Does it dilute the vote? And when you look at the information that's been provided by the administration and the city council, there are some questions about whether the Black voting power will sustain.
Additionally, there were economic considerations that also factor into this annexation process. First and foremost, why annexation and why now? The reasons that were cited somehow don't jive with what reality actually is. Typically, you're going to find places or cities annexing when there is a need to have growth to continue to increase the prosperity for its citizens. In this instance, this seems to be a little more nefarious in the sense that the growth that is expressed is not growth that necessarily has to happen at this time, and it's being done at the expense of making communities that have long suffered remain in the same place that they are.
Yeah, I think it's probably, Rob, when I think about one of the biggest issues that was put forth early on was this business about the city needs to be, 200,000, more than 200,000 in order to qualify for federal grants. And some people tend to hear to obtain federal grants as if getting to that number means that it's automatic. Mm-hmm. What really they need to hear is understand it says qualify. So it does not ensure that you would get federal grants. And even if you did, we continue to lose population yearly. And so it's not that that's going to always be the case. So what do we do every year is look for somebody else to annex in, to continue to get there. But that concern about how do we fund our city, I don't believe that funding your city based on federal grants should be a major piece of your strategy for how you intend to make sure that there are finances for this community.
An additional issue, or matter, should I say, regarding the growth and the physical health of the city of Mobile is that Mobile is not in any danger. They carry surpluses every year. So the need to be scared about if we don't do this now, we're gonna lock ourselves into being unable to grow in the future. Well, they express growth as only happening if you bring in people, bring in areas. Mm-hmm. What about the areas that are already here that can grow? There are scare tactics being used to say that you don't want to become like Birmingham, which is, as they say, landlocked. And I don't see a problem with that either. Again, growth from within. There's plenty of room to grow inside the city limits of Mobile as they are, if you would do the things that would ensure that. Namely, put in affordable housing or increase the housing that's available inside the city limits.
Mm-hmm. Particularly in those areas where the housing has already been destroyed.
I was going to say that's true because there are so many houses that are unoccupied in my area in Tomanville that is sort of like, okay, who's going to come in and purchase these properties and live in these properties with the way things are in the neighborhoods? So an effort to bring back the vitality of those neighborhoods will encourage people to buy back into those neighborhoods because those kids who grew up there, they're moving out. You know, I'm one of very few that are still there. So those sort of issues, I would agree because off camera we talked about the Roger Williams project land. That's a lot of land for it not to be used for the purpose of having a place for people to live. And as many other places, and you can go street by street and see a lot of empty homes, which is unfortunate. Like I said, there can be growth within, I believe, but I want to keep letting you guys talk. Go ahead.
You raise a good point because, and I think looking at Birmingham, while mm-hmm. Birmingham might not be able to increase its land mass, mm-hmm. what Birmingham is doing right now is a lot of revitalization in mm-hmm. communities that have always been there. Mm-hmm. So the opportunity to make sure that Birmingham as a city still thrives mm-hmm. is not because they decided we need to figure out a way to increase the amount of land we have. They're looking at exactly what's there and figuring out ways to be able to actually make it a thriving city by doing a major amount of revitalization in areas that kind of resemble some of the spaces that we're thinking about, like Tomanville, yeah. Maysville, the Bottom, the campground.
Right.
Right. Yeah, we're not interested in bringing in a whole bunch of other people, okay? To be honest with you, to bring in a whole bunch of other folks that you've got to spend time trying to figure out how to take care of. Mm-hmm. Part of this proposal talks about a 5-year moratorium on paying what? Property tax. Yeah. So what is that? All right, so you get an opportunity to come into the city, and then the other part of it is they've still got to worry about sidewalks, drainage, trash pickup. All right, those are issues, and there's some of the areas that we're talking about. Some of those same things still exist. So there's a poor description of why annexation, or poor rationale for annexation. One of the things that Stand Up, along with Sayre, has talked about, and we attempted to communicate this to the city administration as well as the city council representatives, is a cost-benefit analysis. Okay? And a cost-benefit analysis suggested to us that if you are going to annex, that it gets away from this being landlocked, or we just need more federal grants, but that if you do need to annex, what's the benefit of it? And how does that, what's the cost? And then what's the benefit? And the point is, it doesn't have to be rushed. It could be something that would take time. Now, the city has stepped forward with going out for some type of study, and we're waiting for that study to come back right now. Rob, when we talked about it the other day, we said really it's not a study, it's an evaluation of an approach that they want to take regarding annexation. So it is, we've already decided what we want. We're just trying to get a organization to validate, right? Whether we're either thinking or doing the right thing. I'm just so afraid that our leadership truly lacks a moral compass for thinking about this city and every person that's here. That in terms of what we need in a community like Mobile, and Mobile could thrive. There's so many opportunities to grow this city in a way that many people could benefit from it. And so that young people that you just referred to who are in Tomanville, who are saying, I'm going to leave and go somewhere else, give them something to stay there for. Because when you talk to them, people in the bottom talk about how much they love their city and where they are. Even though when they look around, there is things that suggest that this is not a great place to necessarily be. But for what it means to them personally, having grown up there, families have been there for years, they want to hold on to it. But they could stand to have the streets repaired, sewage, sidewalks, lights, safety, and an opportunity to have the housing addressed as well.
I'm not sure what you guys know about this, but the bottoms specifically, they have a rule where the lot size can be only so large. They can't combine lots to make, larger homes on. How do you know anything about that? And how is that true for the existing homes there, or the existing properties there, when they rebuilt Orange Grove, and those homes, those larger homes that are on those lots, they're larger than those little narrow row house size lots. So how is it true? Do you understand how that all works? How is it true that someone who has that row house lot and she bought the lot adjacent to it can't combine those lots and make it pretty much the same size as the ones in Orange Grove that are now existing? How does that all work?
First, I say that there lacks a will to make that happen. There's nothing that is codified that can't be altered to accommodate that situation. But there first has to be the will to want to do it. And like I say, we may have to do a series.
I know.
So there's not enough time to express why a lot of things that could and should be happening as it relates to development of communities in Mobile does not take place. So I'll leave you with this. Cornel West had a book entitled Race Matters. Race matters in this situation. Gentrification quietly happens, and all these places that were thought to be undesirable and beyond repair all of a sudden become very attractive when another group comes into play. Now, what I criticize in Mobile is the quote black leadership that fails to stand up for its neighborhoods and its constituents. I don't think they're vocal enough in making it understood that we can't have two cities occupying one geographical space.
That's true.
One that has and one that does not. And that's exactly what we have. That's the sloganeering that came into play 12 or 13 years ago called One Mobile has failed to materialize. I thought it was just a slogan at the time. I mean, as time has proven, that's all it was. So I'm saying we're not going to see the kind of change that we're talking about until we really change government.
That's right.
Period. That's everybody, mayor and existing city council. I'm sorry, you had your chances, and you've blown it. So I say let's start over, and the only way we get the city that we want to have is we put a government that is operating on our behalf in place.
And that's when going back to annexation and how it actually impacts those numbers, so that there is an opportunity for a black majority to elect the kind of city government it wants. That's a critical reason that the African American community needs to pay attention to this and understand that they should talk to their representatives on city council about what's important in annexation. And one would suggest that if you believe in me and I'm your constituency, I've asked you not to do this because you would dilute my vote. I would think that you'd want to pay some attention to that. And not even, they have this comment about what, $1 million? What was that? The $1 million that these neighborhoods would get
Additional
$1 million. What would $1 million do? A drop in the bucket. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. For the districts 1, 2, 3, and even parts of 7, all right, where we find our African American population.
Yeah.
That's almost an insult to even think that would be a way to be able to get around this so that they can move forward with annexation. There's a lot more that our community needs to recognize, and that they need to be involved. And Rob said it. The way to do that, we believe it's in the vote. Voter engagement and being able to make sure that your voice is heard through how you cast your vote. What's in it for you is hopefully representation that will understand your needs and address those needs.
So, we have, speaking of that vote, I'm sorry.
Sure.
Are you, okay. We have a demographic of 18 to 35-year-olds. I'm seeing in just about every area or industry or wherever. These are the seekers. These are the ones, they have no clue, as they're not holding on to past, and the future is very uncertain and very volatile for them because it changes constantly, right? How do we reach or incentivize this demographic to care about pro or con annexation, in your opinion? Because they're literally seeking a lot of answers for everything. They don't really trust their parents or really adults. It's really kind of prevalent, and I'll give you some examples if you need.
I think that's a good sign right there that they are seeking. Okay, Stand Up Mobile and members of SARE have been meeting with a group of young adults, 18 to I think maybe the oldest
40.
is maybe 40 years. 40 years old, and it's the part that I was probably most impressed with was after the first meeting when they decided that they wanted to spend some time with us so that they could understand redistricting and now annexation. But we have a couple of members of our organization who are ones who will not let you have any discussion without recognizing and bringing forth some of the history that has gone before us, that at least puts us in a position to feel comfortable about the things that we're suggesting that need to happen now. Okay? And the same group of young people have decided that that's who they want to spend time with, okay? Because in their mind, they said, you know what? The things that are being discussed, we don't know about them, and we need more information. They want to read, They want to talk. And there are ways to be able to bring them together. Now, granted, it's probably small groups at a time. I'm ready to show them some of the footage from the civil rights movement where they can see the student boycotts, because it really was young people, their ages, students, who really got out and made sure that there was an opportunity to make things happen differently for us. We do have an event coming up on April the 4th, and it's from 6 until 7:30 p.m. that evening. Kazula's has allowed us to use their back area, which is a large open area, and it really is primarily for our young adults to be able to come together to talk about not only the issue of annexation. They've decided they want to discuss the voting rights issues, voter suppression issues, Medicaid expansion, and a whole series of other topics that they believe that are important. A small snippet in an education right now, but that's the approach that we're taking with it, is that we have to do this little small bites at a time.
Yeah.
In terms of making sure, but as long as we have at least those few who are seeking, I think we're in a good place. But they're probably the most difficult to reach sometimes, and really trying to have them understand, here's what's in it for you, and we really do try to come up with relevant issues so that they can grasp it.
But I know that they will mobilize. If they get to understand that they'll go after something like a rabid dog. They really will. Just got to get the information and the message to them.
That's right.
Is what I think.
Rob, what would you add to that?
Rally
Because
behind
you've
people.
been really good in those meetings too.
One of the things that was said that I took note of was that they stated that the leadership, as it's constructed in the state of Mobile, even within the council districts, they don't listen to us. They don't approach us with anything or about anything. And as a result, they're in the dark. Our efforts and our outreach has probably been the first time in a long time that anybody has tried to go and say, we'll stop, we'll listen, and we're willing to help. I listen to a lot of talk radio, and one show in particular is the Joe Madison show. And one of the things that they talk about very often is the passing of the torch. Joe's position is this: I'm not going to pass my torch because I need to keep that torch to see where I'm going for the rest of my journey in life. But I will gladly light yours so that you can have the benefit of us going forward together.
That's wonderful.
That's really what we are about trying to do here.
Yeah.
That knowledge that they seek, it rests amongst the elders. And for those who are willing to take it in, we know that they can influence others and bring them along. So that's what we're really trying to get going with the initiative at say Kazula.
Okay.
I don't know if that answered the question.
Oh, it
but
is.
that-
I think,
did.
I did. Listen. The bottom line, and we'll move it on, right? But the bottom line, I really do believe that in Mobile, we're at the precipice of actually having black folks being able to make a difference in Government Plaza, all right? By virtue of actually having the black majority. But if it's taken away from us through annexation, before we even have an opportunity to exercise that, all right? It really does tell me that we have a serious problem in this community. We require something different than what we're seeing coming from our administration and from our city council representatives.
Thank you to our guests today, Miss Beverly Cooper and Mr. Rob Green. Excellent, excellent discussion. And we, of course, as always, would like to thank our audience for your participation. And we want to welcome you back again next Sunday, 4 o'clock, with What Matters Gulf Coast. And please, folks, like us on Facebook and subscribe rather, on YouTube. It keeps the show going. We try to show to you or bring to you the topics that others may not talk to the public about. So once again, thank you, audience, and we welcome you back again with us next Sunday, 4 o'clock. What Matters Gulf Coast. Thank you.